Boom! What's up, Investomaniacs? Your boy Knight Rider here, and it's time for your stock market update of the day. Estee Lauder jumps 13% because of airport splurging? That's right, Estee Lauder's CEO was busy complimenting himself. Hey everyone, come and look at how good I look. That it's been an outstanding year for the cosmetics legend. Micro Essence Revitalizing Cream, oh, that sounds expensive, and Le Labo Fragrances, so fancy, helped sales pop 9% over the past 12 months for the company. There was one surprising theme in the earnings report, however, and that was, quote, travel retail. That term was dropped a cool 8 times in the report, and it was a key driver of the double-digit growth of plenty of products such as Tom Ford Beauty. Airport shopping is where Estee's, quote, global prestige beauty, that's how they describe themselves, and that's how Estee is thriving. The next time you walk through a commercially saturated terminal covered in Mac counters at that airport, take notice. Just like this Mac shop at the Montreal airport. The industry of global travel retail has tripled sales over the past 15 years to $69 billion in 2017, and air travelers worldwide are projected to double by 2035. What does that mean? It's good for Estee's business. A captive audience is a lucrative audience. And when you pass TSA and wait 2 hours to board your plane, the airport terminal becomes your impulse buy / last minute gift resource. That's why up to 90% of airport retail is after security. When you're stuck in a terminal and it starts looking more like a mini mall sponsored by Prestige Beauty and Burberry Coats. Your captivity in the airport is Estee Lauder's win. Estee recognizes this and are focusing heavily on expanding into these somewhat unconventional locations. I like it. Bye, bye, bye! Up next, Smile Direct Club files to IPO and is thankful for Instagram? Braces are expensive. Like your parents had to take out a mortgage on the house expensive. Like your dad finally, after years and years of saving, could finally afford to take your mom on that trip to Hawaii. He's always promised her, but then you need braces and he doesn't get to take her, and he kind of resents you for like the next... How old am I? 15 years? Yeah, Smile Direct Club wants to change that by using a new approach to teeth straightening. The $3.2 billion startup has fixed incisors on 700,000 mouths since 2014 and just filed Friday to IPO. Its techie approach to orthodontics focuses on two things. Time, it's 6 months versus a couple years for traditional braces, and money, about $1,800 instead of $5,000 or more for traditional braces. Here's how. Direct to consumer. They ship you an at-home mold kit, you send it back, they return you with clear aligners. No middleman, no trip to your local dentist. It's all pretty easy and therefore a lot cheaper. Telemedicine. A licensed dentist then checks up on you online every 90 days to see how everything's going until your pearly whites are perfectly feng shuied. And it's all thanks to social media. Listen to this quote from Smile Direct's IPO paperwork, aka its S1. Quote, "The proliferation of social media emphasizes online identity and, as a result, drives consumers to present an image of their best selves. This emphasis has increased interest in aesthetically focused businesses, particularly those that focus on less invasive cosmetic treatments. Now, I'm personally unfamiliar with this, having been born with perfect looks, but I can understand why all you ugly people out there are more concerned being on social media so much. The takeaway: the greatest threat to this grinning unicorn is regulation. The American Association of Orthodontists have taken issue with Smile Direct Club, previously asserting that Smile Direct Club violates the law because its methods of allowing people to skip in-person visits and x-rays is, quote, illegal and creates medical risks. The organization has also filed complaints against Smile Direct Club in 36 states, alleging violations of statutes and regulations governing the practice of dentistry. Any regulation requiring physical appointments could seriously adversely affect this company, as that is their primary competitive advantage. We'll need to see what this valuation looks like before we make any investing decisions. Up next, 181 CEOs just renewed their vows with society to love, honor, and generate profits at all costs forever, since economist Milton Friedman first articulated it in the 70s. The purpose of corporations has been to maximize shareholder value, aka profits. But now, the Business Roundtable, a club of 181 big company CEOs, wants to change that. Led by JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon, a guy I have a lot of respect for. The group met up, probably drank wine and feasted like kings, and then changed the purpose of business. Apparently. The purpose of business for the past, 10,000 years? Make money. The purpose of business in 2019? Sustainable capitalism. Whatever that means. Customers, employees, diversity, ethics, the environment. The Business Roundtable wants them all in a corporation's purpose. Apple, Amazon, and Bank of America CEOs all agree. The takeaway: capitalism is evolving for wokeness. But is it really any different today than it was last week? Of course not. The bottom line will always come first, because in aggregate, investors don't invest in companies that they don't anticipate to make money. That's called charity. And people do give money to charity, but that's usually not why they invest in businesses. But if a successful company can pay their employees a bit more than, say, they need to, and do their part to help the environment by, say, building solar farms to supply some of their energy, they'll get higher quality, happier employees and more business from millennials who care about the environment and worker pay and stuff like that. They'll get more positive press. By the way, this is Disney World's solar farm, which has to be one of the coolest ways to get free advertising I have ever seen in my life.
That was easy.
Plus, a bit of self-governance can help avoid government regulation. If Facebook had been a bit more responsible with user data, it might not be in the situation it is today, with regulation looming over its head. Having said that, Facebook is one of the largest companies in the entire world by market cap at over $500 billion. So one could debate whether or not that was actually a mistake in the overall lifespan of the company. One way or another, I say Facebook's a buy. Buy, buy, buy! Up next, Trump grants Huawei a 3-month extension to buy parts from the United States, and that was looked upon as a sign of progress in the trade war. But just like Trump's extension on the remaining tariffs from a couple days ago, it appears the U.S. is the only one making concessions. Trump also responded to recession fears about the inverted yield curve, stating, quote,
I don't think we're having a recession. We're doing tremendously well. Our consumers are rich.
I'm really rich.
I gave a tremendous tax cut. Some might even say the best tax cut. They're loaded up with money.
Up next, Home Depot reported a strong quarter, beating earnings estimates by 2.6% and missing revenues just by a tad. Stock was up about 1.3%, and I like it here. Kohl's earnings are still down year over year, as same-store comps are also down year over year at minus 2.9% in its most recent quarter, but that is not as bad as was expected, so the stock actually popped 5.6%. Remember, a stock is going to kind of go into a quarter where expectations are, so even if a company is doing worse, the stock can still pop if it wasn't actually as bad as expectations were. Kohl's is focusing on cutting costs and regularly updating their clothing offerings in an effort to get customers to come back more frequently. I am not a big fan of clothing retailers right now, but if you have a desire to be in one in terms of a brick and mortar clothing retailer, Kohl's is one of the better options out there. Apple is spending on content for its soon-to-launch streaming service, and it's reportedly soared past $6 billion invested in that original content. Apple has also pushed its streaming service release date to an undetermined date, presumably within the next 2 months, and it is going to be ahead of November 12th. That is the release date for Disney Plus, and is a clear effort to try and capture some of that money which would otherwise be going to Disney Plus. According to the Financial Times, Apple has spent several $100 million on the morning show alone. Part of that increased cost is due to competition. There are so many there are only so many high quality people out there who can make this stuff, and a lot of them are working for Netflix. Thus, Apple has to offer more generous terms and earlier payment to producers. I like Apple and I like Disney, but Netflix is getting harder and harder to recommend because streaming is turning into a real battleground. I personally sold it about, I did have Netflix stock, and I sold it about a year ago, and the competitive landscape is looking worse today with Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus both coming out within a few months. CBS All Access now has dedicated original content you can't get by watching CBS, like Star Trek Discovery and The Twilight Zone. Disney made a move in this direction as well by taking The Orville, one of my personal favorite shows, off of the Fox network and now having it exclusively on Hulu. This is in addition to existing original content on Hulu, such as The Handmaid's Tale, Castle Rock, and the reboot of Veronica Mars. Yesterday, after years and years of being a loyal Netflix customer, I canceled my Netflix account. I chose to cancel Netflix over canceling Hulu and then bought CBS All Access. I realized I'm not on a contract and I don't need to have Netflix all 12 months of the year. I can have it for a couple months here and then go to another platform and do that for a couple months. And I can come back to Netflix when there's something new I want to watch there. I predict as more services come online, people will switch between these services throughout the year a lot more than they have been doing previously, which is very bad for Netflix. The logical way to combat this is for the services to start offering a month-to-month option and then a cheaper annual subscription option. I do not think the risk-reward makes sense for Netflix any longer. So here's my new game plan for Netflix.
Don't buy.
Sorry. We need to wait a few quarters to see how Netflix is going to be affected by Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, and the now exclusive content on Hulu and CBS All Access. We also need a few quarters to see how Netflix will fare without the aid of its most popular licensed content. For example, The Office is the single most watched show on Netflix, accounting for an incredible 7.19% of all Netflix views. And it's leaving at the end of 2020. Friends is the second most watched show on Netflix with a massive 4.13% of all Netflix views. It's leaving early 2020. In fact, 11 of Netflix's 13 most popular shows are liable to be taken away due to the content being owned by companies which currently operate or are planning to operate their own streaming service. Therefore, I estimate we need to wait until at least late 2020 before potentially considering to buy or get back into Netflix. That's it for this video. I'm trying my best to help contribute some high quality, entertaining investing content to the YouTube community. If you'd like to support that effort, it would really mean a lot to me if you subscribe. Thank you.